Hi, everyone. You should be able to hear me now, hopefully. Let me just double check real quick. Hi, everyone. You should be able to hear me now, hopefully. Let me just double check real quick. So, yeah, you can hear me, and OBS is recording. So, let me get rid of this. Um, so, third time's the charm in trying to um, forgot to pin it. So, third time's the charm in trying to do a kind of new trailer video, as it took a while um, to get it done properly. And I wanted to talk a little bit about it, to give you guys some input and see what's going on. Um, Now, as I try to stress, unlike my other books, you have to um, you're gonna need to understand what the story is so far to understand what's going on in book three. There is little to no recap at all, because that's done on purpose. Normally, you want all of that just because it's a great content filler. You have a lot of pages that you need to fill, and just recapping what you did before at least covers a couple of chapters. Um, but there was a lot that I wanted to get into this, a lot of technical stuff and nitty gritty stuff that I kind of needed to use it up. Um, for those who are new to the series and picking this up, um, the series is called She Knows. Um, it's from the saying all the time. Um, oh, sorry, I'm tongue tied. And you learn how basically girls' minds work. They she knows that she's got a body. She knows she's a woman, and she is confident, and she knows what she wants and how to get it, and she goes about doing just that. Um, it is mainly I wanted to try and come up with a kind of female Professor Moriarty or an evil James Bond, because my book style or writing style is I'm tired of the good or the winning side or being the goody two shoes side. So I've been trying to write from the perspective of the bad side, and those and So, if those who read my other series would know that there is kind of no right or wrong. Every person's perception is different. What's right to you may not be right to me. One's country is a terrorist, while another country is a hero. Right and wrong, good and bad, can be determined what side of a border you're on. Something a little bit closer to home to you, perhaps, is those living in New York will often say that the people over the other side of the Hudson River are not very nice people. Where the people on the other side of the Hudson in New Jersey, the swamp state, will say that PA um, New Jersey are not very good people. Again, it's all about reputation, um, and it ties nicely into the series that I'm trying to do. It's very deep in understanding. Like you're not going to be able to understand everything the first time you read the books. You may have to go over them again just to get the full story. And that is what I'm really wanting to accomplish here. Um, I mean, I used to be told that when I came over here, I should tell guys how to act and talk to women because the guys in America are more complacent, more of an asshole than guys over in England. And reason why that is because in America, the pond is kind of bigger and there's plenty more fish. Um, so if they don't get the goal that they wanted, they can simply go for another one. Whereas to Europe, the pond is slightly smaller, so you got slim pickings. It's so you kind of learn different on how to do things. Um, Now the characters, the characters are completely fictional. There's no one that I am using to portray here. The names and personalities of the characters are of people that I know with their permission, but the story and the storyline is mostly fictional. In book three, it's entirely fictional, with the exception for Chris. I put a little bit myself in just so people can get to know me a little bit. Um, it, I thought it would be a nice touch. The names I chose more common names that I know. It's mainly so people could relate to the characters, and if you find yourself you're able to relate to the characters, you find yourself drawn in more to the story, and it comes more believable, more plausible. I mean, I'm sure these things won't particularly happen in real life, but it's certainly plausible. It could happen. Um, so with book two, her intuition. Towards the end, we saw where the main character Lynn said to Revan that she would explain what happened to her father at another time. This book, her reputation, is Lynn's retelling. It tells the other alternative parts of what happened in book two. We saw that Corny got sent off to help Chris, but we didn't really see much of that side of the story, and that is where book three comes into play, and it fills in the gaps and fills in the story quite nicely, and it's going to be really good. Um, Wilkinson, he I've known a lot of people, a lot of guys back in England and here that were very shy and very afraid to talk to women and intimidated by them. There was um, too many to pick, so I kind of summarized all of them and put them into one character, Wilkinson, and he's like a representation of most guys that were like that. So even though he's not a real person in real life, he's a characterization of all those people. Um, I kind of hope that the women that read this book will see a little bit of how men react to men that are afraid of women, like how Wilkinson is in the book. The name Wilkinson itself isn't, again, representative of anyone that I know. I know several people, mainly the people in England. My friend Lee is mainly where I got that name from, because at the start it was in my hometown. Um, so that's where I started to pick the names from. So it's uh, so that means we got the book three. The story is going to be very deep on more than one level. There's got to be maybe some things that you won't understand or won't ever understand, and that's perfectly fine. I just want to provoke a reaction, any kind at all, to prove that you are human. It doesn't matter if you like it, hate it, love it, miss it, or whatever, as long as you have an opinion and my goal is achieved, and in a way, it proves the point of the books. Um, Now, as you saw with me reading earlier, the intro, um, reputation is created by what we say or don't say, what we do or what we don't do. We are not in control of what other people's reputations are of us, but we can influence that, thereby altering the perception of other people. And then, if you know how to tailor your reputation, your image towards someone, then thereby you can use your reputation as a weapon, and that's where again this story comes in. It's going to be different. It's 1 second. For those who, I mean, I understand that the story is going to be complicated, and that was supposed to be one of the cardinal rules that you're not supposed to do, confuse the readers. But for those that are going to really struggle, I have put some points. So if you get nothing about the story, you will at least have a basic understanding. Um, I got permission towards the end to use a particular couple of songs from a certain person, which I'm very grateful for, and that really helps to bridge the gap. So towards the end, even if you don't know what's going on, the songs will be, or the lyrics will be there to say, well, boom, that's basically what it is. Um, Also, the main kind of theme that leads up to book three is like with people's relationships and like that, not just romantic relationships, friendships and stuff like that. People are often blindsided, or they lie to themselves, and they come to a point of where did I even get here? Um, you sometimes see it where you've been friends with someone for like years, maybe, and then suddenly you start to have feelings, and everything changes, and then you suddenly stop and open your eyes and like, how did we suddenly get here? Um, and I try to recreate that sensation here. Like, things are obvious to people on the outside watching in compared to you being on the inside. So people watching you can tell when you're in love, but you may not be able to, or you can't see it because no one can see past what they don't understand, to rip off the Matrix. So it is multi-level with what you're going to have to understand. Um, I mean, it is so many things that I wanted to try and get into the series for people to understand. Um, so I really hope you get something out of this. Now, the it will be coming out in early March soon. Um, we're going for a rough launch date in the US for the 12th. I do not know when it's going to come out in Europe. I'm hoping the same. That was the main reason for the delays. Is the publisher that I went with. They had imposed all sorts of regulations, rules, and different listings um, that I had to oblige with, and it got very nitpicky and frustrating. And it involved a number of deletes and rewrites of the last chapter or the last couple of chapters to comply with what they wanted. Um, there is, like I said, two different versions. Uh, the difference is going to be very minimal. You may not even notice it. It's just for a couple of words here and there. Europe, uh, Europe's cover will be in white. US will be in red. Um, but mainly it's about, like, for example, one country had one word banned, while the other country in Europe didn't. When I used the alternative word, it was banned in the other country, but not banned in the original country. So it involved a lot of nitpicking, um, and it got very frustrating. So I'm definitely gonna go back to the way I was doing it myself. So I have the freedoms, and then I can do whatever I want. I understand the method and the reason why countries limit what they want written in books. I not necessarily agree with it, but I understand where they're coming from. The government wants to control, your governments want to control what you see and read in books to an extent. So, I mean, that's the same no matter where you live. Um, so we'll get this resolved. I mean, it got really petty and silly, like just randomly. For example, the word salt was banned in Spain, but not in Greece. So I used the word pepper for Spain, but Greece says the word pepper is banned. So we had to do something else. Um, it wasn't exactly those words, but it was. But it was along that nature. That was the problem. So, so yeah, normally I use a camera on me, but that didn't go too well yesterday with the live version. So I'm using my Oculus Home to talk to you guys. I've been redecorating, and yeah, so I got a different view, a mini chess set without a board, but no. So the if anything, I will admit that this book is kind of putting women up on a pedestal in a way, sexist, but on the opposite way, but not that much. I wanted to basically write someone that shows that I understand women a little bit and I appreciate them and what they do without going too far. But it is based on my experience of people that I have met, and so it, to me, is pretty factual, and that's where they all come from. So this is gonna look like it's the end for the She Knows, but it's not. It's just the end of this stage in Lynn's life because I wanted to progress a little bit. I wanted to do the early stages where she was growing up, learning how to be an arch villain, but she has done that now. So we're gonna move on a little bit and carry on from there. I really don't want to spoil the ending because you're really not gonna see it coming. Because I'm hoping that when you come to read it, you're gonna be like, how did we end up here? Thinking that it's gonna be like every other book that you read, and then you come to the end and go boom and explode your mind. So whatever you take from it, it's fine, even if you only understand a lot of it. Alright, so that's Her Reputation. She Knows, Book 3, coming out March. Hopefully March 12th, if not a little bit later for both Europe and US. But alright, guys, I'm gonna stop the recording and post this up on YouTube.